Hello, everyone,
Three.
and welcome to another episode of You Talk, where we are only slightly fucking up the intro as I counted myself in instead of the opposite kind of thing. And Horst has frozen, which I think means that it's just gotten fucked up. Yeah, just gonna have to wait for him to come back.
Do you want your internet
I'm
connection
here.
to stabilize a little bit there?
Yeah. I noticed you were. Yeah, I noticed. Yeah, you just stopped, and you were just intently staring at me the whole time. You're just like, it's kind of funny actually.
Do we want to try that again?
Do we? I don't know. Uh,
This-
nah, I don't think so. All right.
Oh, okay.
So
That's traditional screwing up
today,
the intro.
no. Well, hey, I'm the one who edits it, so no, I don't care right now. Um, so everyone, we are getting philosophical and hopefully
A
not
lot.
losing coherence, and we are asking the question: what is liberty?
Oh, okay, okay. I believe liberty is baby don't hurt me no more.
I mean,
Oh.
that's the way you want to think about it, I guess. Um, that's kind of funny. So, okay, liberty. It's a surprisingly complex question or a complicated question. I think I just said the
And
same
yet
thing.
surprisingly simple.
Well, it's simple on the surface. Okay, you're asking what is liberty? What does it mean to be free? Well, are you
Okay,
asking about
so
freedom of or freedom from? And like I remember back when I was at the last federal election, there was a UAP supporter, Palmer's bullshit party, which is basically just a lobby group for his interests.
yes, the
Um,
pup.
yes. Well, they're not Palmer United Party, it's United Australia. Um, but anyway, um, what he said, what I remember that guy saying was, vote Clive Palmer for the freedom.
I remember that. I remember
Yeah,
that there were these big banners that just said freedom, freedom, freedom,
yeah. It's
with no
so
discussion
vague
of what that
though.
actually meant.
Yeah, it's so vague. It's so vague though. Like, what? Okay, you mean freedom of, like, freedom of choice to do something, freedom of how you conduct your actions, freedom from something. You know,
Okay, no, that's splitting hairs and splitting infinitives in a way that isn't useful. Um,
yeah, but those are actual. If you're gonna say freedom or liberty, you
we
know,
have to understand what freedom or what liberty means.
do you want a
And
textbook definition? Am I pulling up my phone?
no, I'm gonna drag this damn show back onto the rails here. The
Well,
Cambridge
we shall see.
Dictionary The Cambridge Dictionary defines that in English, traditional, liberty is held formally to refer to the freedom to live as you wish or go where you want.
Hmm.
Um, it further clarifies that in English, simplified, we refer to individual liberties and group liberties, which are a structural and or political problem.
Hmm.
When we're looking at liberty, nebulously, I think we can all agree that as a concept, liberty is good. And there are certain freedoms that we can enjoy paradoxically because we don't have liberties. For instance, I have the liberty of sending my child to school and knowing that it is extremely improbable that someone will open fire on their classroom, killing them and or their classmates. Sure, I don't have the freedom to wave around a giant gun to make up for my tiny penis.
See, that's
I
that's
guess what
that's
I'm
actually
going
the
for
thing.
here is
You
that
you have to.
liberty requires that someone take responsibility.
Yes. There's, and that's actually brings up the concept of freedom from responsibility. But, that being said, I was thinking kind of what you were thinking just then, but I was thinking there are trade-offs. You have to trade some
Yeah,
freedoms for other freedoms.
yeah. I have the
You need,
freedom to drink myself into a stupor every night
but
if I wish.
you don't get freedom
But
from the hangover.
Exactly. There
You
are
know
going
what?
to be
That's a perfect
consequences regardless.
that's a perfect metaphor for anti-vaxxers. They want to be able to drink themselves half to death and then not have the hangover the next day. That's basically what they want. We were talking about this with the at election time. New South
This is
Wales
one of the
state
things that
election.
I have some fun explaining to people who usually people who are over here have heard of the concept of freedom of speech in the US and think that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, some
Freedom
people
of
think that means
speech
freedom
does
to be an
not
absolute
mean freedom from
dickhead.
consequences.
Yeah.
Like, if Kyle here, if Kyle and I are in a park and he randomly comes up to me and says, "Hey, I fucked your mum last night," aside from the fact that I now know he's a liar, my mother would never, I hope.
Don't be so sure.
If Kyle gets punched in the face for that, that isn't an impingement on his freedom of speech. He was exactly as free after to say the same fool thing again. Another way I've heard this phrased is that your rights end where mine begin, and
Yeah,
that is a very interesting and fraught one. But
I was
it
hoping
comes
we'd
back to this
disagree on
concept of
something here.
liberty.
I was hoping we'd
I
disagree on something here. We're not really disagreeing on anything.
Look, the night is yet young, and you have suggested that my mother might be interested in you, and I think we can have a quite spirited disagreement on that if we wish to derail. But yeah,
As fun as it would be to do
liberty
so.
is
So no, I think
really
okay.
simple, right?
I have to
Liberty
bring up.
is that we have certain inalienable rights. Freedom of association, looking at you, state of Queensland,
Mm,
freedom to practice one's religion without interference from the government, looking at you, China. Um, yeah,
yeah,
honestly,
and
once
then
we get past the cheap shots and the human rights stuff, liberty becomes nebulous because a lot
yeah,
of people use it as a catchword for a lot of vague ideas that they can't quite put into words. It is very similar to the issue of tribalism or identitarianism, of creating a label and identifying with this label because it is simpler to have this pre-made label than to think.
yeah.
And
See,
we've seen
that's
with people who
yeah.
want liberty, they're saying vote for freedom. It's like, great, what is your party actually going to do to secure that freedom for me?
Mm. And I think the largest sort of part of that, or I guess the biggest thing that I think needs to be said, is that a lot of people who talk about freedom, they, I mean, be if it's in the media, they talk about free speech until
Mhm.
all of a sudden they have direct contact with everyone in the world via Twitter, and everyone tells them how much of an idiot they are. Then they call it harassment online. What they want.
Depots ruin
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. And then people are like, we want the freedom to not get vaccinated. Well, you do have that already. But the
Congratulations, I pronounce you
and
at liberty to contract measles and die painfully.
yes, and on top of that, but then when they're told, no, you can't work certain jobs, like in aged care,
Mhm.
where you're putting people at risk if you haven't been vaccinated and you've caught
Yeah,
something.
even the old and disabled have the liberty to not die because someone was a fucking moron.
Yeah. Like, oh God, I mean, I'm not saying I agree with it, but there's the argument that, if you lie or otherwise don't get vaccinated and you work in aged care and you get sick and then make them sick and they die, there's an argument that that could be manslaughter. I'm not saying I
I
necessarily agree with it, but it's an interesting thought because they've just been reckless
I
and
would
caused
agree that
someone's
it is
death.
reckless. I would agree that it is recklessness occasioning death or recklessness occasioning grievous bodily harm.
Hmm. And
Like we
and
have
so
charges for this that aren't manslaughter.
yeah, well, I don't, this is where my knowledge starts to end, is I don't know legal specifics. That's your area. You're studying that stuff.
Yeah, that's
Um,
why I'm looking forward to Letter versus Spirit of the Law because oh, I have thoughts.
yeah, but the point I guess that I'm getting at is that these people, it's not that they want freedom. They already have freedom. It's that they want freedom from the consequences of their own actions. They want the freedom to fuck around but not have to find out.
Well said, but let's go back to what they do have then, because you've just asserted that they have freedom, that they have liberty.
I mean, you can do pretty much anything you want these days. You know, as long as you're not affecting anyone else negatively, you can. You know,
Just
I mean,
give me a second. I'm just pulling up a slightly important document.
is it important
that
though?
is
Because we have a minute and a half left, and I don't want
cool.
to go
It's
over
the
time again.
Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Okay.
And even here, we refer to Articles 2 and 3, and honestly, probably 4. Article 2. Everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status.
Wow,
In
I
other
guess that's
words,
very specific.
things
Yeah.
things that you are born with that are not the result of your choice, or actually, yeah, even some of the things that are your choice, like religion, cannot be used to deny you these inalienable rights. Furthermore, no distinction made on the basis of political, jurisdictional, or international status of the country or territory to which a person belongs. So these rights apply to everyone worldwide. If you disagree, fuck you, you're the bad guys. Article 3. The right to life, liberty, and the security of person. Article 4, and this is the one that I want to go to regarding liberty. No one shall be held in slavery or servitude. Slavery and the slave trade shall be prohibited in all their forms. There are still places in the world where slaves are kept and used and owned. Quite frankly, the fact that people think it's an infringement on their personal liberty to have to be vaccinated if they want to participate in public life, unless they have a very damn good reason, other than, fuck you, I'm scared of technology, makes me sick.
And I can.
But even this document assumes that we all understand the concept of liberty. But we've walked around in circles around people perverting the concept of liberty to sell an idea that isn't completely fleshed out. Well, when I think it all comes back to...
I'd say it's more insidious than that. They've perverted the concept of liberty for their own personal gain, be it political or monetary or so on and so forth. They've done it for themselves, and they've been screwing the rest of us over in the process.
Unfortunately, this leads to more of a question than an answer, and it's, if everyone has absolute liberty, what happens to society and who pays? And because anarchy is its own political philosophy. It's not a very well-informed one, quite frankly. The best of it is sort of your anarcho-syndicalism, where anarchists acknowledge that you need to build communities that have norms. You need to have people you can trust. The things that impinge on our liberties are part of the social fabric. They ironically give you the liberty to trust that I'm not going to turn around and do you a massive amount of harm. You have the right to security of person. You have the right to not be detained in a prison for no goddamn reason.
You have the right
You have the right to walk down the street and not be punched in the face. You have the right to decide what you're going to have for breakfast this morning. You have the right to decide what TV show you're going to watch when you knock off work.
I think everything you're saying is you have the right to exercise your will, as long as it does not infringe on others.
Self-determination and autonomy. Like, we could ask, why is the idea of liberty so important when we can distill it to self-determination and autonomy? Why is the social contract so important? But I think we all know that liberty at this point is either something that most people in a civilized society already have.
You know, I think I have found a word
that's being used to sell you an idea.
I do think we've found a disagreement, because that's the question that comes to your mind. But the question that comes to my mind is, we already have liberty. We already have the right to self-determination. Why are we letting these twats convince us otherwise?